I think everyone knows about Gabe's distinguished career throughout his pre-professional days. He has won numerous national and international awards and scholarships. Just last month, he was promoted to an extremely prestigious, sought-after position as a soloist of the American Ballet Theater. But this opportunity, I think, offers us to some insights into his life when he was actually one of the first students to join the Bolshoi Ballet Academy summer program that RAF started with the academy here.
Yes, hi everyone, welcome. I'm Gabe Stone Shayer, new soloist with American Ballet Theater. I'm so excited to be here and be a part of the RAF family. And let's get started.
Well, before we start, because we always love to bring some positivity into everyone's life and some surprise, we have a small surprise to share with everyone and with Gabe. So, Jade, do you want to hit it for a second? Hopefully,
Absolutely.
Gabe will enjoy it.
Oh my God. Oh my God. What a throwback. Oh my God.
Gabe, what inspired you on your path of ballet at such a young age? And, what at that time made you interested in the Russian style with so many kind of other options?
And then in terms, the reason why I chose to go to Russia and to work with Russian teachers continually was because I found the Vaganova system to be the most logical and the most beautiful. I found the line, the attention to detail, the history, and just the logic in how ballet works and is applied to the stage and to dancing to be the strongest in the Russian style and technique.
Any memories you have of your time in BBASI? And
So as you're saying, I knew going in that most of the instruction would be in Russian, and I think that was something that I was excited about. You know, ballet is a universal language, but the Russians do have their own spin and take on certain words, which was confusing sometimes. But it was sort of untainted by translation, and as much as it was so helpful to get translation, you would get the feeling from, say, Anisimov in partnering class and in technique class. You understood what he was saying, even if you didn't really understand what he was saying. And I found that kind of freedom that he had to just be able to speak without worrying about translating gave all of us such a rich, authentic experience to how his teaching really is. The students that they brought from the academy, that you brought from the academy, it was definitely a full cultural experience comparable to, little neighborhoods in New York, our little troop tribe of Russians.
How about what it felt to be an American at the academy in Russia?
Being an American there, yeah, I mean, again, similarly, it was breathtaking, driving up to the school and seeing Moskovskaya Gosударственная Академия Хореографии. It was like really, really like a beautiful picture. And then being in the academy, there's not so many, but there was a lot of international students, mainly from Europe and Asia. There were very, very few Americans, but a lot of the common languages were English. However, it was difficult for some. I had a really good time. Again, going at it, trying to embrace the culture, and immediately trying to learn Russian, and of course knowing the boys who came during the summers, that was, a great help as well, being acquainted with people who are now principals at Bolshoi. Artyom Belikov was really, really close with me. And when I first came to the academy, I think it was maybe the first or second night that I was there, he took me out with friends. We went to go eat somewhere, some Russian food. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess to present a difficulty, I guess learning language is kind of difficult, and being able to communicate, because at least in America, in the summer intensive, we have Rena and other people, and we're in America, so we kind of have the comfort of familiarity. Whereas, especially when I first moved to Russia, the only Western culture they had was Starbucks, McDonald's, and Fridays. And the rest was completely in Russian. No one at the supermarket wanted to speak English, which I'm actually very glad about now, because now I can speak Russian. Um, so I just turned that negative into a positive. So yeah, it's difficult. You will flounder a bit because everything is new. But in the end, it ended up, progressing my mental capacity for language, and my understanding of the perspective of others, and other international cultures.
Probably you never thought that you'd be a fluent Russian speaker.
No, and the amount of times that Russian has come in handy, especially in the ballet world, especially working at American Ballet Theater with resident choreographer Alexei Ratmansky. Um, I can't say that speaking Russian has gotten me parts, but but he's
Great.
definitely featured me a lot. So and having kind of that familial thing, being able to speak to someone was very helpful when I was joining ABT.
And he's also a graduate of the Bolshoi Ballet Academy.
Yes.
Have you ever exchanged stories about did you actually have the same teachers?
So, it's funny enough. I now am a part of the lineage of Peter Pestov. A lot of the greats went through his class, and Alexei Ratmansky was one of his students, as well as my teacher. Ilya
Mhm.
was one of Peter Pestov's students. So there's kind of, again, a familial thing there with not only the Vaganova training, not only the Bolshoi Ballet Academy, but specifically Peter Pestov's very unique methodology in how he taught.
You yourself as an ambassador of American culture, of all cultures, how do you kind of carry that role?
Yeah, well, so again, as a cultural ambassador, we travel, the American Ballet Theater, we travel as a group representing what American ballet is. And with that, we carry this torch of having to represent our country, with ballet and art, and also integrate into these spaces where people have their own history. And so it's been incredibly enlightening, traveling all over the world, going all over Asia and Europe and America, and I mean even America, different American places that um, you know maybe weren't exposed to ballet, or in the case of Europe, have their own styles and methodologies and techniques as well, and really understanding what that means and how it's connected to their culture, and um, having time to go around these countries on days off, and really get a view into how these people live, and why they love art so much. I love to bring up that on the rubles, on I think it's on 100 rubles. I'm looking because I have one right there. Uh, the Bolshoi Theater is on it, and that's kind of a testament to how much that's intertwined into their culture. And Paris Opera and all these other big theaters are revered in their respective countries. So it's how dance and ballet and being an ambassador have affected how I see the world is big. I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, it's given kind of more levels to how I kind of digest people and understand where their perspective and ideas come from.
Differences then when you go to certain places overseas. When you say that I'm a ballet dancer, what are some of the kind of reactions or that you get?
Depending on the country, it's very different. In Russia, it's like, what? Like, this is amazing. I mean, it got to the point when I was at Bolshoi school that people knew me, at least in the center, because I may have been, I think at that time I was the only Black person in the school and maybe the country. But people knew me as the American at the Bolshoi, and there would be these babushkas, these grandmothers who would be walking around the center and they'd be like, the American Bolshoi dancer.
That's great.
Yeah, and I guess in a lot of European countries, in France and Paris and in London, similarly revered, not nearly as strong as Russia, where footballers and people who play sports are equal to ballet dancers, and ballet dancers are on the news every day. But there's a lot of respect that comes with that, and a lot of the Asian countries that I've been to also respect the craft that goes into becoming a ballet dancer, and there were a lot of ballet fans there. And in America, it was a very different experience. And generally speaking, sweeping statement for kind of the middle of America, because I'm usually on the coasts, but for when we travel to kind of the center of America, Central America, it's met with intrigue, I think is the best way of putting it. It's not as well known, not as widely known throughout America, and yeah, it's a different kind of perspective. I feel like we're bringing, again, as cultural ambassadors, we're bringing this part of our artistic culture to the rest of America.
Do you feel like ballet offers life skills to all across the board that dancers can carry on in different directions? And maybe what do you think those life skills are from your experience?
I think the biggest and most obvious is discipline, especially in Russian training anywhere, and definitely in Russia itself. Um, Learning how to conduct yourself. I felt like, again, performing for many dignitaries and being in a lot of those situations, I was forced to understand how to conduct myself in a professional manner at a very young age.
If you could maybe share with us what a life of a professional dancer at ABT is like.
Before COVID, a normal day without performances would be class at 10:15. I get up pretty early, around 7:30, because I like to give myself time at home to drink coffee, have a little breakfast, kind of wake up slowly. And then I leave. I get to the studio about an hour or a little bit more early, because as my teachers throughout my whole training, and especially Ilya, taught me, he said it was a cardinal sin to show up at the bar without show up at the bar dry. So I maybe wouldn't be sweating before days, but I would definitely make sure that do the check marks for your body, stretch, do all the stretches, and make sure my body was warm. And he also taught me to never take class as a warm up, but as a training mechanism. So that's something that's still stuck with me. So anyway, 10:15 class, end at 11:45. Rehearsals start at 12, and we would go from 12 until 7, usually with an hour break from 3 to 4, depending on what we were ramping up to do, what season, where we were flying next. But, leading into our most busy season, the Metropolitan Opera House, I would dance 7 to 8 hours straight every day.
Oh,
and yeah, and then now, I've carved out a lot of different projects and time for me to really work on the details. And this time has presented that opportunity again, turning the negative into a positive, to be able to focus on a lot of minor details within my training technique, and physical upkeep, that I would not have had the time to do if I was trying to do 6 ballets a day and, kind of in the machine of the company. So it's been kind of a blessing in that way.
I think you were introduced to us through YGP.
Yeah.
So YGP was actually one of the first kind of supporters that welcomed us to the dance community here. So from our young dancers, suggestions on how to be successful at a YGP, prepare for YGP.
Yeah, besides working on the technique, now actually I've been a judge at YGP, so it's full circle. Uh, and I find myself watching students, who are very focused on the technique, and that is very, very important, and it's very, very good. But the thing that will set you apart is the performance aspect. Of so again, I know that's asking a lot, but we all know that getting into this profession is very difficult. So having the ability to add that element of performance to your performance, is something that will definitely help you succeed in the competition. And also, just because you didn't place does not mean you didn't succeed. People still get scholarships to RAF and to all these other amazing schools and programs through Youth America Grand Prix without placing. So, but definitely perform, dance. Yeah.
And that's very true. We actually always say that at REF, for us, it's actually more exciting and more interesting to welcome a dancer who's a hard worker than someone who's taken the top prize at any competition, because sometimes we feel like dancers, strangely, even at that young age, feel if they've received the top, then they're already a star. And we even just heard from you how many hours you're still training and working. So I think kind of the work ethic and is definitely says a lot, and a great point. And any who's looking back and through your years of professional career, any favorite choreographers that you have worked for or work with, and why? Or
Alexi's been great again because he's featured me a lot, but also because I've taken to his movement style pretty well. And then also working with Wayne McGregor was a really, really amazing experience. Kind of the contemporary side that I wanted to delve into and try. So that was a great opportunity to really understand how his brain works and how his choreography, where that comes from. And that was really, really amazing. Yeah.
what do you think kind of maybe your biggest accomplishment, achievement has been, and maybe your most difficult struggle?
I think looking back and in retrospect, I'm very proud of the fact that I was the first African American male to graduate from Bolshoi. Um, at the time, because I wasn't treated as other there in the academy. It just felt like I was graduating with my classmates. But in the current climate that we're in America and in a lot of places all over the world, I realize the significance in that feat, because it is pretty big.
It is 100%.
Yeah, and then, kind of in that vein, I do recall, as a young student kind of struggling with my skin tone, and people thinking that I didn't belong in the ballet community. Yet the Russians embraced me, and I kept going in that vein, and obviously here I am today.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And I thank you for that interesting perspective.
Do you have any audition tips?
Yes. So similarly to how you should approach competing and by performing, obviously you're not going to, do a full Gamzati variation in the middle of an audition, but definitely present yourself and try to have the carriage that you would have on stage, because again, it is very difficult for directors to choose from a class that isn't an applied way of seeing how you fit into the context of a company. But it's important that you kind of show that you have the the presence to represent their company on stage, and also the technique, clean technique. Don't try to do too many super duper crazy things, but really show the strength in your training.
How do you find the balance at different stages, whether it's pre-professional or professional, to balance such a demanding art form with pursuing other interests? And is that something that you would recommend to the younger generation to start searching for that balance rather sooner than later?
I would say it's difficult and time consuming to pursue other interests, but it's also very, very fulfilling. And similarly to how you feel when you finish a variation that you love, and you're tired, but you're happy. And I think with that, with that idea, I'm tired right now. I'm very happy with the artistic endeavors that I've pursued outside of dance, and how they can be applied to dance, and how my experiences in the world and my experiences in things that I pursue can also be applied to my artistic development and my artistic journey and characterization in classical ballet.
On that note, as I know we're almost out of time and have a couple minutes, just maybe parting words of inspiration or wisdom to teachers, to dancers, to all of us, members of the same dance community and global community, that we could ask you for?
I would say kind of the overlying theme of this whole thing was really, really take an introspective view on what you're doing, understanding why the why in everything, and that can bleed over a lot of different categories, but understand your technique and why you're approaching it this way, and why your teacher is approaching it this way, and teachers understand how your students may be different and learn different ways, and just be transparent. Everyone needs to be transparent with how they communicate with each other, and work really, really hard.